The film opens in the year 1846, a time when pirates still ruled the European seas. Out on the open water, a small fishing vessel sails quietly across the ocean. But that calm does not last long. A group of pirates suddenly boards the ship and takes control. The captain of the vessel, a man named Captain Baden, quickly grabs several gold bars he has hidden on board as soon as he realizes the ship has been hijacked. Even so, he does not give up without a fight. Captain Baden joins his crew and battles the pirates. Unfortunately, they are badly outnumbered, and one by one his men are defeated. Soon the leader of the pirates arrives. His name is Captain Connor. When Connor notices the gold bars in Baden's possession, he is immediately shocked. Connor reveals that the gold actually belongs to him, stolen from him 10 years earlier. He demands to know where Baden found it, because according to him, there is still another chest of gold missing. But Captain Baden refuses to reveal anything. At that moment, Connor's right-hand man mentions that Captain Baden has a home on an island called Cayman Brac. If Baden will not talk, they can simply search his house. Perhaps the rest of the gold is hidden there? Connor agrees with the plan. He takes Captain Baden hostage, and together they set sail for the captain's home. And the hunt for the missing gold has only just begun. This is the bluff. 6 days later, the story moves to Cayman Brac, the island where Captain Baden lives. The island looks peaceful and beautiful. The people who live there are friendly and help one another. Here we meet Baden's wife, a woman named Ursel. She is standing by the shore, looking out toward the sea through a telescope, hoping that her husband's ship will appear that day. But after watching the horizon for a long time, she sees no sign of a ship approaching. It becomes clear that Captain Baden will not be returning home today. Ursel eventually heads back to the house to share the news with her daughter, Elizabeth, and her sister-in-law, Lizzie. When she arrives, she gently tells Elizabeth that her father will not be coming home today. Elizabeth looks disappointed, especially because today is her birthday. Ursel then tells Lizzie that there are still no signs of her brother's ship out at sea. Lizzie understands. Life on the ocean is unpredictable, and the weather can easily delay a journey. After that, Ursel asks Lizzie to take Elizabeth out to play for a while she stays behind to prepare lunch. Later that night, just before going to bed, Elizabeth asks again if her father is safe. Ursel reassures her that he is. To cheer her up, Ursel gives Elizabeth a birthday present, a small dagger that once belonged to her father. The next morning, just after dawn, Ursel suddenly wakes up when she hears suspicious footsteps outside the house. When she checks, she notices several strangers approaching the property. Immediately, she moves Elizabeth to a safe hiding place. Then she grabs a weapon and prepares herself, just in case something is wrong. But before she can react, she is suddenly attacked. Ursel is quickly overpowered and captured by 3 men who turn out to be pirates, members of Captain Connor's crew. One of them demands that she hand over all of Captain Baden's wealth. Ursel tells them that their savings are hidden behind a painting inside the house. When the men retrieve it, they find only money and angrily throw it aside. That is not what they are looking for. What they want is gold. One of Connor's men, a long-haired pirate, pulls out a gold bar as an example. He demands to know where the rest of the gold is hidden, but Ursel claims she has no idea. With no answers from her, the pirates begin tearing apart the entire house, searching for the missing gold. As morning light begins to spread across the island, the scene shifts to Captain Connor, who has just arrived at Cayman Brac. Not long after stepping onto the island, he is confronted by the village chief, who demands to know why Connor has come. Connor explains that he intends to search Captain Baden's house. The chief immediately refuses. On this island, no outsider is allowed to act without his permission. Instead of backing down, Connor pulls out a weapon and makes it clear that if permission is denied, there will be war. Then he tells the chief to look out toward the sea. In the distance, 3 of Connor's pirate ships are already approaching the island. Realizing the threat, the chief quickly orders his men to prepare the cannons. Meanwhile, the villagers rush to take shelter inside the church. Even then, the chief tries one last time to convince Connor to stop, but Connor has no intention of listening. The attack begins, and chaos quickly spreads across the island as Connor and his men launch their assault. At the same time, back at the house, Ursel is still being tortured by Connor's men. Suddenly, Elizabeth makes a small noise from her hiding place, revealing that she is there. One of the pirates immediately moves to capture the child, but in that instant, Ursel strikes back. She attacks with brutal force, turning the situation around in a sudden burst of violence. Meanwhile, outside, the battle between Connor and the island's defenders continues to escalate. Soon the three pirate ships finally arrive, and Connor's reinforcements join the fight, overwhelming the chief's forces. In the middle of the chaos, Lizzie becomes trapped inside a house. From there, she witnesses a horrifying sight as Captain Connor personally executes the village chief. Back inside the house, Ursel finally brings Elizabeth out of hiding and tries to calm her down. Once Elizabeth is safe, Ursel asks where Lizzie is. Elizabeth explains that Lizzie had gone out earlier to gather food. Just then, Ursel hears footsteps approaching again and immediately prepares herself for another attack. But this time, the person entering is a church pastor. The pastor warns her that Captain Connor and his men have already arrived on the island, and she needs to escape immediately. It soon becomes clear that the pastor already knows who Ursel really is. Even so, Ursel urges him to stay quiet because she does not want Elizabeth to learn the truth about her past. After quickly cleaning herself up and changing clothes, Ursel asks the pastor to take Elizabeth into the forest ahead of them. She plans to stay behind for a moment to find Lizzie. Not long after that, Lizzie can be seen running through a cornfield, desperately trying to avoid Connor's men. Suddenly, someone grabs her from behind. Lizzie panics for a moment until she realizes it is actually Ursel. Ursel quickly reassures her and wastes no time. Together, they hurry through the forest to catch up with the pastor and Elizabeth. The story then shifts back to Captain Connor and his men as they finally arrive at Ursel's house. What they find immediately surprises them. Two of Connor's men are already lying dead, killed in a brutal way. Connor's right-hand man quickly questions the long-haired pirate since he had been there earlier. The man apologizes and insists he has no idea what happened. According to him, he had been fighting alongside the others during the attack on the village chief. Connor is not convinced. Instead, he begins searching the house for clues, trying to figure out who Captain Baden's wife really is. In his mind, there is no way an ordinary woman could have taken down two pirates like that. As he investigates the back of the house, Connor eventually notices something important. There are fresh tracks leading into the forest, clear signs that the pastor escaped with Ursel's child. Without hesitation, Connor orders his men to follow the trail. Not long after, the pastor and Elizabeth arrive at a large tree that has been marked as a guidepost. A moment later, Ursel and Lizzie finally catch up with them, and the group continues deeper into the forest. Their escape soon becomes even more dangerous. To keep moving forward, they must cross a river that is filled with crocodiles. Ursel decides to send Lizzie and Elizabeth across first using a small round boat. Once the two of them safely reach the other side, it is finally Ursel's turn. The pastor chooses to remain behind and cross last. But just as Ursel prepares to move, she hears voices approaching. Captain Connor and his men are getting closer. Ursel urges the pastor to cross immediately, but he refuses. Instead, he chooses to stay behind and delay the pirates for as long as he can. With a heavy heart, Ursel continues across the river, leaving the pastor behind. Not long after, the pastor is captured. Once Ursel reaches the other side, guilt begins to weigh on her. She tells Lizzie and Elizabeth to hide beneath a large tree while she goes back to try and save him. Ursel climbs into the branches of a tree to observe the situation from above. Unfortunately, she is eventually spotted, and gunfire erupts around her. By the time she realizes the pastor has already been killed, she understands there is nothing left she can do. Reluctantly, she retreats. Meanwhile, Captain Connor quickly orders his men to continue the pursuit by crossing the river as well. But the river proves deadly. The moment they enter the water, crocodiles begin attacking them. Out of all the men who attempt the crossing, only 3 pirates manage to reach the other side alive. Waiting for them, there is Ursel. With remarkable skill and speed, she takes them down one by one. After defeating the 3 pirates, Ursel stands on the opposite bank while Connor shouts across the river. This is the moment he finally reveals that he knows exactly who she is. He calls her by a name from the past, Blood Mary.
Bloody Mary!
Connor then proposes a deal. He suggests a simple exchange, the gold that belongs to him, in return for Captain Baden's life. He explains that Baden is currently being held captive. If Ursel refuses the trade, Baden will be killed. But if she agrees, Connor will wait for her at her own house at sunset. She must arrive on time and bring every piece of the gold with her. After hearing the offer, Ursel agrees. But before facing Connor again, she first needs to make sure Lizzie and Elizabeth are safe. She leads them deep into the forest until they reach a hidden cave. Inside, the cave is filled with weapons, supplies, and equipment. It soon becomes clear that this place is a secret hideout built long ago by Ursel and Captain Baden. It is also where Ursel has been hiding the rest of the gold bars that Captain Connor has been searching for. Inside the cave, Lizzie cannot hide her curiosity. She has never seen this place before and asks what it is. Ursel explains that the cave is a secret hideout she built together with Captain Baden long ago. Lizzie then asks the question that has been building in her mind. She wants to know who Ursel really is and where all of this gold came from. Ursel finally reveals the truth about her past. When she was only 12 years old, she was already serving pirates, led by none other than her own father, Captain Connor. She grew up among them and eventually became one of the most capable fighters in the crew, even rising to become Connor's right hand. But at some point, she began to realize that the life she was living was wrong. She wanted a different path, so she made a bold decision. Ursel stole all of her father's gold and ran away. During her escape, she eventually met Captain Baden. He changed her life. With him, she left the world of piracy behind and started a completely new life. After telling the story, Ursel asks Lizzie to stay inside the cave and not leave until she returns. Then she begins preparing for what comes next. This time she plans to strike back against Captain Connor. Before leaving, Ursel secretly places explosives inside the chest of gold bars. Once everything is ready, she sets off. Meanwhile, Captain Connor has brought Captain Baden to the house and keeps him locked inside a room as a hostage. Connor spends the time recalling Ursel's past and speaking about the many encounters he once had with her. But Captain Baden refuses to be provoked. In his mind, Ursel is no longer the person she used to be. Not long after that, Ursel quietly emerges from the well behind the house. The well turns out to be a hidden passage connected directly to the cave. Moving silently, she takes down the guards one by one before slipping into the house. Soon she reaches the room where Captain Baden is being held. When they finally see each other again, the two embrace. Ursel immediately tries to break the chains binding his hands, but the restraints are far stronger than expected. Outside, Captain Connor begins to suspect that something is wrong. When his men check the room, they find that Ursel has already disappeared, leaving only Captain Baden behind. Baden seems confident, convinced that Connor and his men will soon face the consequences. A moment later, Ursel reveals herself in the backyard near the well. Connor's right hand and several other pirates quickly surround her. Ursel warns them not to come any closer, explaining that the area is filled with traps. One of the pirates ignores the warning and steps forward anyway. The moment he moves, an explosion erupts beneath him. Shortly after, Captain Connor himself arrives. For him, this confrontation is exactly what he has been waiting for. He demands that Ursel hand over all of the gold. In return, he promises to release Captain Baden. Ursel slowly pulls a rope from inside the well, and a chest filled with gold bars rises to the surface. But before handing it over, she insists that Captain Baden must be freed first. Connor agrees, and Captain Baden is finally released. Once Captain Baden is finally freed, things take an unexpected turn. Instead of escaping, he immediately attacks Connor's men, and a fierce fight breaks out. For a moment, it seems like Baden might turn the situation around, but eventually he is cornered by Captain Connor. Seeing this, Ursel desperately tries to stop Connor from killing him. Unfortunately, Connor shows no mercy and brutally kills Captain Baden right in front of her.
Hear my voice.
After that, Connor captures Ursel. He reveals that the gold was never his real objective. The truth is that he came to find her. Connor wants to know why she betrayed him, the very man who raised her. Ursel refuses to answer and is eventually forced back toward the well in the yard. What Connor and his men do not realize is that the chest of gold Ursel brought with her is rigged with explosives. Within moments, a massive explosion erupts. The blast kills dozens of Connor's men, and in the chaos, Ursel manages to escape through the well's hidden passage. After the explosion, Connor's right-hand man refuses to continue the pursuit. He believes chasing Ursel is pointless. Connor sees this as betrayal and kills him on the spot. Then he orders the remaining pirates to climb down into the well and continue the chase. Meanwhile, Ursel has already returned to the cave. Lizzie quickly treats her wounds. With a heavy heart, Ursel apologizes because she was unable to save Captain Baden. Once she regains some strength, she begins preparing for the final battle. She asks Lizzie and Elizabeth to help set up traps around the cave, knowing that Connor and his men will soon arrive. Ursel also points out a hidden escape route built long ago. When the pirates finally reach the cave, she wants Lizzie and Elizabeth to leave through that passage. Not long after, Captain Connor and the surviving pirates enter the cave. Realizing the time has come, Ursel tells Lizzie and Elizabeth to leave while activating the traps. Soon the cave erupts into gunfire as both sides begin shooting. The fight does not last long. One by one, Ursel eliminates Connor's remaining men until only Captain Connor himself is left. Connor then challenges her to a final duel, a fight to prove who is truly stronger. He waits for her above the cave. Ursel accepts the challenge without hesitation. Meanwhile, Elizabeth manages to escape through the side passage and reaches a small boat waiting by the water. Lizzie, however, chooses to stay behind because she is worried about Ursel. Back above the cave, the duel between Ursel and Captain Connor begins. The fight is intense, with both of them attacking relentlessly. Eventually, Connor manages to corner Ursel. Just as he is about to finish her, Lizzie suddenly appears and fires a shot. The bullet misses, but the distraction is enough. Connor's attention shifts for a split second, giving Ursel the opening she needs. In that moment, Ursel strikes and finally kills Captain Connor. With her father and the last of their enemies gone, the past that once haunted her is finally over. Lizzie soon joins her, and for the first time they can imagine a peaceful future. In the final scene, Elizabeth is still alone on the small boat. While exploring the vessel, she accidentally lifts one of the wooden boards. Hidden beneath it is a stash of gold bars. It turns out that Ursel secretly kept a portion of the gold all along. So the moral of the story is, if you steal your pirate dad's gold, expect crocodiles, explosions, and a very awkward family reunion.